Hey everybody, welcome back to Bros and Shows. I am your host, Josiah, aka Mahler67. And with me, as always, I got my buddy, I got my pal, I got my brother Austin. Austin, how you doing today?
I am doing phenomenal. Fantastic. Everyone,
Phenomenal.
it was okay. It's okay.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's okay, guys.
That's good to hear. We this is coming out. We're doing this on a Thursday instead of a Wednesday because yesterday my mom had her knee surgery and Austin was helping her yesterday. So that's all good. The Burkharts is a bunch of broken family people because I also have sciatic nerve pinch too. And that has come back with a vengeance to the point where I went to work today and then got told to go home because I was in too much pain. So life's been great for me personally. Austin, how was your weekend / how was your birthday? I didn't get to say happy birthday to you.
Oh, yeah. So, we pretty much like what happened was we actually had my birthday like what was it, a couple weeks ago, when you were down with my one shot really.
Mm-hmm.
For my birthday, I actually just pretty much sat around. I took the day off and I just played Spider-Man the whole day. Didn't really do too much anything, and then I watched all the House of the Ushers. Finished all that up, and then I just watched some scary movies, and I actually rewatched, and I bought the bundle of RoboCop 1, 2, and 3 because it was on sale for like $15, and usually it's like $50.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, yeah, I just played Rogue City, like the demo, and it came out today. So I was like, yeah, you know what?
The game itself came out?
Yeah, it came out today.
Oh, okay.
So it takes place like after RoboCop 2, because RoboCop 3 is pretty bad. And RoboCop 2 is not really good either, but I've been wanting to rewatch them ever since I played that demo. So I was like, you know what? I'll go back and watch them. So I did, and I've been doing that. And then we sold our sectional for our couch, and I had to go out and buy a new couch. And we have a brand new couch, and we have a love seat that's on its way, and yeah, just a lot of that, and a lot of moving furniture, which I did not like. And then this weekend I'll be out in Pennsylvania. I'm gonna go see a band called Max Sabbath, which is a ripoff of a Black Sabbath parody band, but it's McDonald's parody.
Okay.
So yeah, a couple of us, actually a couple of your friends are going with me too. Like they're gonna meet me at the venue because they want to go see it too.
Nice.
So yeah, like I was pretty excited. The first time I was gonna go see that band, actually, there was a band that they were touring with like 2 years ago, and I really wanted to go, but then the lead singer got cancer.
Oh, is that the Ned one?
Yeah, the Oakley Dokley, the metal Ned Flanders band. I really wanted to see them. They were touring together, and I was like, this is a perfect time to go. And then I was like, man, that stinks. Like they canceled the tour because of the sickness.
Yeah, what can you do?
The guy's sickness. So kind of sucks. But overall, it was okay. Like I had a really good week. Had a lot of fun. Had a blast over the weekend. We didn't really do anything except for hang out. Yeah. We just pretty much hung out. Got ready for mom for her surgery and stuff. So we kind of been just really busy trying to do that, motivate her, get her to walk, help her out, stuff like that, so it was a pretty busy week so far.
Dang.
So yeah.
Well, is mom allowed to walk? Like she just had the surgery yesterday. They're already telling her like she can walk. Oh wow.
Yeah, like she needs to get up every hour unless she's sleeping, and she needs to walk. She needs to like motivate herself. Because you don't want to be stiff with a knee, like you don't like how I took the classes with her, because she was like, hey, you retain a lot of information sometimes that I forget, and if I have a question, you'll know it. And I'm like, yeah. So like the biggest question is like, she has to motivate, she has to still be moving though, because if you go stiff, then the replacement doesn't get the joint that it needs to keep moving, because it's a titanium piece that they put in her. So yeah, she gets up every hour and walks like to the kitchen and back, just some movement.
Yeah.
And then
so you're saying our mom's a Spartan now?
Yeah, before you know it, she'll be Steve Austin, $6 million man.
Oh, I just meant
She's
like
a cyborg.
Master Chief, the Spartan 2 projects have titanium infused bone.
Yeah, speaking of Master Chief. No.
Mm-hmm. So no, that's
For any nerd that's out there, Game Fuel, the original formula is out again, and it is everything that I've wanted and everything I've needed in my life. When I got the pack, I could not wait to get home. So I grabbed a can out of the pack right when I got out of Kroger's. And I took a sip, and it brought me back to the days of Halo 3. Just late nights. See, that's a thing that, like, I see a lot of TikToks about like stuff like things that like you'll never really see again. And LAN parties is one of those things that died in my generation, where like people would get together and have LAN parties and hook up Xboxes, and we'd play until like 6 o'clock in the morning sometimes. It was just like, I remember like we used to have LAN parties where like people would come like off our bus, like ride the bus home with us, get the Xbox hooks up. All these other people would show up. We get pizza, and we drink Game Fuel all night, and then we'd like be up until like 6 o'clock in the morning, and then we'd sleep the whole day Saturday, and then we just would wake up and be like, yeah, everyone's going home. Everyone already went to bed. So everyone's going home, and then like we would just, some people would stay for 2 nights. And we're like, hey, you want to do it again? And we're like, yeah, let's do this.
Yeah, right on,
So, yeah, why not? What else we got going on?
We had pizza on Friday night, so let's get mom to make sloppy joes.
Yep. And it was like, what else are we gonna do on the weekdays? Because we lived in like a really small town that like,
yeah, we did.
There wasn't a lot going on, and the farthest like to go to like an activity, it was always like at least 45 minutes away to go to someplace.
It was 15 minutes to get to our school town, which wasn't anything good there.
No.
And then, like you said, it was like 30 to 45 minutes to like Mount Vernon, which was the only good thing that was in that range.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which I live in Mount Vernon now. But the thing is like, it's weird. Like, I remember those days, and I love those days. And it brought me back a little bit. I was like, man, it tastes exactly like how it should. Because the last time they did this, I was like, that is not how it was. It was missing something. The only problem I have with this one, though, is if they would have a 0 sugar option, I would love it. They have 2 different ones right now. They have this one, which is the original, which is the citrus cherry. And then they have another one that's like purple, and I think it's like a pitch black, but it's like a different grape flavor. Like I saw it today, and I was like, I'll drink it.
Yeah, try it out.
I just wish they had a 0 sugar option for me, because I don't really like ingesting all that pop.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I know how this is going to work with this, so, but, yeah. You know what? It's good. It gave me a great nostalgia feel. I loved it, so, yeah.
No, that's the truth about the Game Refuel. Anytime it comes back, that's automatically a, like, remember when, I used to have a cutout of the original, Game Refuel up on my wall.
Master Chief, yeah.
Yep.
What's really funny is like I was explaining the Mountain Dew to one of my individuals that is a huge gamer, and I was explaining to him like the whole hype that was around it and how much we drank of it, and like they just stopped making it, and I was like, oh no, and I was like, yeah, I'll have to show you images of like the original one, not the one from like 2015. So I looked back and I got on, and the first thing that came up was a can on eBay. It was going for like $500, not open. And I was like, oh man, it's turned into that. And then I was like, hopefully this is the same original formula. And everyone's like, yes, it is. So I'm stoked. Back to what we're doing.
Yeah. But let's Austin. As much as nostalgia is a great thing to have, sometimes something you do in your past life will come back to bite you in the butt, like giving you sciatica, or coming to kill your family bloodline because you gotta deal with them. Austin, this week we talked about the fall of the House of Usher is what we watched. Austin, first off, what did you think of it?
Okay, I'm gonna state this. This is my second to best Mike Flanagan work.
Okay.
I feel Midnight Mass is always going to be up there because I love Midnight Mass, and I think
It
Midnight
was a
Mass is
great twist.
yeah,
Great twist.
it's a great masterpiece, and this show is a masterpiece. But I do like Midnight Mass a little bit more. Um, the reason why I put it so high though is because it hit two of my favorite things,
Mm-hmm.
and I was super excited. So I'm a huge fan of Edgar Allan Poe. I have read all of his stories, even his only one published book, which we'll get into all these like Edgar Allan Poe things because the whole time I was like, that's an Edgar Allan Poe reference. And the whole show is an Edgar Allan Poe
Yeah,
reference because it's
it's
based off of The Fall of the House of Usher.
90% of the whole thing is just Edgar Allan Poe, like
Poe, yeah.
down to the
And
names. Like it's like, dang,
I,
okay.
I love his poetry. I love the darkness that's always with him, and I liked how this story went, and I love that Mike Flanagan keeps the same actors that he does multiple shows with. I love it. They work great together. They're great chemistry. But what's really funny is some of these people, I was like, I don't know who those people are. This must be a new person. And then it clicks, and I'm like, oh, they were part of his other show. I just forgot about Midnight Club. So like I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's them, and I was like, oh, that makes sense.
The
But
funny thing with me is like I kept seeing people. I'm like, I've seen this person before, and I know they're in Mike Flanagan stuff, but I want to know what else I know them from.
yeah.
And so I was sitting there, specifically the I don't even know her name. The deity that they make a deal with.
Oh, the Raven?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the Raven. Who they made the deal with her. I was like, I know her from a lot of things, and I can't remember all the different things I've seen her in.
Well, she was in Mike Flanagan's
Yeah.
Haunting on Hill House,
Mm-hmm.
but she was also in Watchmen. She was in the Watchmen movie.
That was
She
the
played
one thing
Silk
that hit
Spectre's
me. I was
mom.
like,
Yeah.
that's what it is.
Yeah.
Silk Spectre.
Yeah, she was in it, but like the two people that I didn't notice until I was like, wait a minute. So Roderick Usher's wife, the young lady, she's from Midnight Club.
Yeah,
and I didn't think about she's the one in the wheelchair.
Yep.
And I was like, oh man, I did not notice that. And then the boy that gets killed by the acid rain, he was also in Midnight Club. And then the other two, the mother that was like being held captive, her daughter was in Midnight Club.
Oh, okay.
And she was also in Midnight Mass too. So I was like, huh, I didn't know that there was a lot of these people. The only person that was not in any of like Mike Flanagan's stuff before was Mark Hamill. And like Mark Hamill, I think did a great job here, which is a whole interesting thing that they did with Mark Hamill.
I liked Mark Hamill's character a lot. I liked his character probably the most of everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Because like he was still like a bad person, like an evil person, because he did all that stuff, but he did it because that's what he was paid to do. Like he was the Mike of this show, and so whenever I was watching, I'm like, this is Mike. That's all it is. This is Mike from Breaking Bad. Like just speaking a little gravelly and then having himself a good time. So
yes. So I would have to say this is one of my favorite Mike Flanagan shows. I would probably have to put Midnight Mass, Fall of the House of the Usher, and then right underneath it will be Haunting on Hill House, and then after that Midnight Club. But also too is there's a Mike Flanagan did some movies, and I do enjoy some of Mike Flanagan's movies, so I don't put them in with his TV shows, but I think he does great work. He builds up the characters really well, and I like the suspense. The only thing I do have is like he doesn't rely, and I'm okay with this, he doesn't rely on cheap jump scares sometimes. He does have jump scares. There is a couple times where I've had a jump scare in this, but he doesn't rely on it to be the source of the horror or like the story. He develops a story by telling you like how things progress and like what's going to happen. But then at the end, it's like, oh, we've known this the whole time. These are the pieces that are like put together. And I like how Mike Flanagan films that kind of stuff.
I think the one thing he does a lot is actually a like predetermined jump scare.
Yeah.
Like there's the whole scene where Roderick or Frederick or whatever his name is, the dad is talking with the detective, and they're talking about the first death, right? And you see in the background the boy walking towards them. And so you're like, oh, here comes a jump, like, oh, here comes a jump scare. And you see
Oh.
him walk the whole way until it like cuts back to the dad, and then he's talking, and then it just cuts back, and then it's the boy's face, and it's like a jump scare kind of sting thing. But like, I don't feel like I have been gypped with a jump scare there
Yeah.
because of the fact that it's like it's pre-shown, and the atmosphere of seeing this boy slowly make its way to you just kind of freaks you out. And I'm like, duh, gotta give props to that. I like that. Do that more. So, I mean, that's the thing I'll say. He doesn't do like unwarranted out of nowhere jump scares. He did it once. There was a couple in there, but they weren't like, oh, super bad or whatever. It actually made me want to rewind and watch the jump scare again to see what the jump scare was.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's like, oh, that happened so quickly, I don't know what that jump scare was. So yeah, no, Austin, I'm basically in the same boat as you. I think it's a really good show, one of my favorites. I still agree. I think Midnight Mass is higher up for me. I think that this show is possibly a second or maybe a third. I'm not a huge Edgar Allan Poe fan. I understand the impact a lot of his writing has on like gothic horror, gothic architecture, and not architecture, but gothic horror writing and everything. So I definitely understand that. He's never been something that I look at and be like, oh, I love reading his stuff or knowing about him, because he was kind of a messed up guy in life.
Yeah, he was. He's one of those artists, like most poets, they don't get recognized until after they're dead. Like most poets are like that. Or painters. Painters are the same way. There's a lot of painters that don't get recognized until they're dead. It's just how that is. But Edgar Allan Poe was one of those guys that came out with like a very creepy, gloomy outlook of life, because he was living that life. People would constantly just berate him about his stuff. He had a moral enemy with someone he knew, that were like an executive editor of like a paper, and it ended up like destroying Edgar Allan Poe, like just completely destroying him. And then plus his wife dying and his child, it destroyed him. But like some of the stories that he has, I've really enjoyed, because it's just this buildup of suspense and intensity, and I feel like Fall of the House of the Usher is like a huge love letter to Edgar Allan Poe and what they love about Edgar Allan Poe. And I was super psyched when I first found out about the show was being made, and I was like, oh wow, this is cool. And then they're like, Mike Flanagan's doing it. I was like, of course he would be, so I will say this though. There is a couple things that I felt was a little weird, because the denial that Roderick has a lot of the time through the whole series is kind of weird, because he's like, oh no, it's not her. No, it's not her. Like he kept denying his sister of believing that it was the Raven that was doing it, or whatever being she is. But it was funny to me because he was like, no, it's not her. And then at the end, he's like, okay, it might be her. Like, they just forget about that. Because the thing is I think also too, is they play it off as like the deal that they make with her is like this mistake deal where they don't understand what's really happening.
It's a Faustian bargain is what it is. The idea that you trade something that's worth more than what you think it's worth in the moment. And they trade their lineage for all the faith and everything, which to be fair, right? And it's kind of funny. Her reasoning actually makes complete sense to me. Whenever she's like, look, you can have, like, you will get caught and you'll have your kids and whatnot, and they'll grow up and they'll live full healthy lives, but they'll be working and have hard lives their whole life. Or you can take this deal, and yes, it's only till your lifetime, then their lifetime ends. But what's better? 70 years of happy, like, hardworking labor life, or 40 years of like
Not
perfect
worrying.
health,
Yeah.
like everything. And it's like when you said it, it's like, oh dang, like that's actually a pretty good concept. You know what I would have loved if they did? Because
What
like
was
the
that?
whole concept of like, oh, your bloodline ends with you type deal thing. Um that was fine. I would have loved it if they had a adopted daughter or child.
Yeah.
Just so that we'd see if like, oh, is this person affected by this deal? Because they're considered daughter legally, but they're not part of their bloodline. Because it definitely felt like to me that the sister was trying her hardest to like cheat the deal, essentially. And he was just kind of like, I don't think it happened. Like I'm in denial type deal thing the whole time. So I don't know. I could be 100% wrong there. That's just what I was kind of thinking. But Austin, what did you think about the like overall story? Because I know that like each of the episodes are basically based on a writing of Edgar Allan Poe, and each of the kids are also based on like one story. Like I the only ones I recognized was obviously the Raven, like the last one. The Tall Tale Hearts, I knew that one. That was a pretty famous one that was told out to us. I think those are the only two that I really remember of all of them.
Okay. So I'm gonna tell you this. Every single person in this episode in the show is a Edgar Allan Poe tie-in.
Yeah.
Because Lenore, Annabelle.
Yep.
So
Annabelle Lee,
Annabelle Lee is a famous poem, and that was Roderick's first wife. Gordon Arthur Pym is actually the only book that Edgar Allan Poe wrote, like the only full book. And it is called The Adventures of Arthur Gordon Pym. And guess what it's about?
They travel around the world?
Yes, it's exactly about him going to the center of the earth, which it's a great book. I enjoy the book. I think, yeah, I have it. It's interesting. It is very interesting about, like, they kind of tell a little bit of the story because, like, he's like, well, I didn't mean to kill her. And then it's like, no, it's like, you didn't even partake in what they were doing. You're like, oh yeah, that kind of, tells you what was going on in the North Pole. And then every single child was a story of that. They even tied in the Raven at the end with, Roderick.
Roderick, yeah, I keep calling him
with his granddaughter. His granddaughter's name is Lenore. Which in the Raven quote, Lenore, that's what it is. The other things that they did was every episode was a poem of Edgar Allan Poe. Take for instance, the famous one, Tall Tale Heart. The episode Tall Tale Heart was about that. Which was interesting. She's like, can you hear that? I remember watching that episode and not clicking like what it was called because it just went to next episode. And then when I heard her start hearing that chirping, I was like, this is a Tall Tale Heart, because that's the whole concept of it, where like, a murderer murders someone and then the police shows up and then like keeps hearing their tick of their heart, the pumping of their heart. Yeah. So like, it's so interesting. The other thing is they went with my favorite story, which I didn't know how they were going to do it until it happened, and I yelled at the TV. I was like, yes. So my favorite story, which I didn't click until someone said it, and I was like, oh, they're doing it. And what it was, so my favorite story is called The Cast of Amontillado, which is a story about a man that is fooled by his favorite man because he's trying to go out with his girlfriend. And he doesn't want her, he's more handsome and he wants to be with her. So he fools this guy of like, hey, I know where the wine cellar is. We should go down the wine cellar. So he lures him down the wine cellar, makes him drink and drink and drink.
Oh, and then
he gets him drunk.
Covers him in the wall.
In bricks and mortars. And he's like, no one will hear you. So when that happened, where he looks at the bottle, he drinks it and he goes, is this a sherry? He's like, oh, it's a Amontillado. But he pronounces it wrong because he doesn't understand what it is. But it's an montage on the cast of Amontillado. It's exactly how it goes. So I was so happy that they tied that in because that's one of the best Poe writings of all time, in my opinion. Um, Clearly, they did the Raven. That was the last episode. It was a whole episode about that. Pit and Pendulum was, I forget what story it is. Man, I'm drawing a blank on that one. That's one of the most brutal deaths I thought of this show. Very creative. I like that death. I would have to give the biggest death to Acid Rain though, because that is rough. Like that is
Yeah, that was pretty
atrocious.
rough. Which, to be
Oh
fair, that
man,
I knew that's where it was going with the
yeah,
second that they're like, oh, they have their own supply of water here. Like we could
yeah,
just funnel it through. I'm like, test that water. Like
yep. Test the water.
no one would purposely be like,
Yeah,
oh, let's just plug up to this water stuff. Even just like
yeah.
opening it up and smelling it, you would have been like, ooh, that's highly acidic. That is not water. But
And then Black Cat is a book. Black Cat,
okay.
which is the Black Cat episode. Goldbug is a bug related thing. I've never finished it all the way through.
Okay.
I've read most of Edgar Allan Poe's stuff. It's just sometimes he is a little dry on certain things. So like, I don't get back to reading certain things.
Yeah.
But that is one book that I am actually going to read here soon because I do have all the works. I just haven't got into it. I'm trying to think what the other episodes were called. Let me check real quick.
Yeah, Goldbug, I assume has something to do with like Egyptians because like that was the whole concept, like a golden scarab.
Yeah, like a golden scarab. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about the one monkey one where like the one was trying to figure out that stuff. Hi, Molly.
Yeah, because so the Masquerade, it was the Acid Rain one. Yeah. That was from the Masquerade of Red Death, which is one of Edgar Allan Poe's book about a murder at a party. Because Masquerade, sing a song on a Masquerade. Sorry, I had to. So when Camille dies with the monkey, that is actually a story that he wrote called Murder on the Rue Morgue. And it's not a monkey, I don't think, in the story. I think it's like a tiger or a lion that does it. And then the Black Cat original art. And then Goldbug. I never got around to Goldbug. A Tall Tale Heart, of course. But yeah, and A Midnight Dreary is just his poem. Once upon a midnight dreary, I find myself weak and weary, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So it's a huge Poe reference. Like this whole show was just a Poe reference. And I was here for it because I love Edgar Allan Poe. I like the spookiness that comes around it. Now, what I want to talk about is the actors. So we saw a lot of actors from Midnight Mass and a lot of other ones. Did any one of them stand out to you as like not so good, or was it like they did really good? Because I think the girl from Midnight Mass, like the crazy one, she's always good in like those roles of just being a narcissist, and she does really well with those roles. And I didn't know this, but she actually was on an episode of Creepshow recently, so I'm gonna have to watch that episode because I'm not really I like Creepshow, but it's not as much as Tales from the Crypt. But like now Creepshow's back, so I was like, yeah, I'll watch it. She's on it.
Yeah,
but
one of them.
Did you ever feel it? Yeah.
I think. I mean, I'll be honest. I think a lot of the characters did really well. I personally think that the guy who played Frederick or Roderick did amazing. Throughout the whole show, I really found him very captivating. I had a hard time caring about the sister. I didn't know who she was for most of the time. I had a little hard time like figuring out like, oh, that's the sister. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Also, the whole plot line with the sister was kind of annoying to me, but that's whatever. I think that the I honestly felt really bad for the girl from Midnight Mass whenever she's like she marries like Roderick, and I'm like, dang, she's just getting trashed on by her like stepkids essentially.
Yeah.
And then whenever you find out he only basically married her because she was like
Addicted to meds.
she's addicted to the meds, but she's okay functional. I'm like, she's just
Did,
100% just.
did you get the reference of the med?
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah.
what they were talking about? Because
yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of people didn't.
Oh, for sure. It's talking about Purdue. That whole thing was completely
Yeah,
replication of the
oxycodone and everything. Because they even used the tagline. They used the tagline. What was it? For any pain or whatever it was
pain
called.
away or something like that.
Yeah, pain away. Yeah, a lot of people did that.
The second it began, my brain was like, okay, so this is a riff
oxycodone,
on Purdue, which I also do find funny that the show had very high like anti-capitalistic endeavor and thought processes.
They made fun of a president, twice in the show that I laughed really hard about. I really died when, the Raven was talking about it. She's like, the last person I made a deal with actually said that he could shoot anyone on 4th Street and get away with it. And I was like, oh man, they went there. Yep. They talked him up.
And that was my, like, I don't know how I say this, but like the very action of a lot of the characters in the show I enjoyed. I don't think there's any that I actually felt did bad. I think the sister only was bad to me because her whole story and plot doesn't make all that much sense.
Are you talking about the one Camille, the one that's like she digs up stuff, or she's like the press person? She dies from the ape.
No. I'm talking about the sister who, like, Roderick's sister.
Oh, Roderick's sister. Okay, the one that was playing Cleopatra. At the New Year's Eve party. Okay.
Yeah. I did not find her all that.
Yeah.
Like, I did not like how she just seems very like usative, like she uses a lot of people and doesn't really care. And I think Roger really cared for her, but she doesn't seem to care for him.
Yeah. I didn't like her storyline at all.
Yeah. I did like how they foreshadowed the ending with the story of their mom in the very beginning.
Yeah.
They also did not explain anything about the mom, so that's like, how did she come back to life? Nope, that's not going to say anything. She's going to go kill the guy and die, and it's like, that's the end of it. Okay.
Yeah.
No further information needed. Actually, let's talk about some of the deaths, like, because like each of the kids had like gruesome methods, but the one thing I really liked about the show, right, is that every time they like talk to the Raven, or the Raven shows up, they basically learn like, hey, if you would have just did X, Y, or Z differently, you would have died more peacefully. It's because you're a bad person that you're dying this bad. Like with the dad and with the pendulum thing. Yep. It's like, if you would have just chose to care for your wife, you would have died peacefully off to the side. Yeah. Or if what's it called? The mom, she tries to get the mom out of the place as well. Yeah,
she tries.
And the mom just is too slow for it and gets hit. Same with all the what's they're called? Waiting staff. They also escape.
Yep. Well, they escape because she like lured them out.
She tells them,
Yeah. Well, I think that she lures them, but she gave the mom an option because she was there. I think that's what it was.
She was trying to save her. Like she was like, hey, you should leave. But she ultimately chose to stay a little longer, and that's what ended that. Yeah. But like, I just found it interesting.
One person in this that I forgot that was in Midnight Mass, but he was totally different looking in this, and it's so Beatrice, the lady from Midnight Mass, the crazy one. Her husband, he was the big old bearded guy in Midnight Mass. The one that, was the alcoholic that shot the girl. That's him. And I was like, no, it's not. But it's because of the beard. I was like, oh, yeah,
without the beard, you can't really tell. Yeah.
But I do like, so the Black Cat death is one of my favorite interesting deaths, just because of how they build it up, where it's like he's mentally going crazy because there's really not a cat. It's just, but also too, is they don't explain how he killed the cat. Like like
The,
at the
the,
beginning,
the,
but they didn't have
the
to.
issue I had with that episode, an issue I have with a couple of the deaths is
Mm,
half of them always ended with them being like they went crazy, and because they went crazy, they became bad people, right?
yeah.
And it's like, well, that's not on them. Like, why should they
Mm,
have bad deaths if that person made them crazy? Like the
yeah.
whole cat thing, like, okay, he killed the cat the first time, right?
Well, he was very high on drugs. I think the whole concept was like him hallucinating.
I completely get that. But the problem
Yeah.
is that it's like then you make him go crazy enough to like tear down the whole walls and everything,
Yeah.
then stupidly run at a cat on a ledge and swing. I was like,
Yeah.
that was a
Yeah.
stupid way to end it.
And it is stupid, but I liked how interesting it was. The whole buildup of like finding this cat, and he's like, it reminded me of a movie called Requiem for a Dream with
Mm,
Jared Leto, where like a person, or what was it, Party Monster with Kevin Macaulay Culkin, where you'll find out that like these people that are addicted to this drug is
mhm,
so addicted that they will like move furniture, like try to break into walls because they thought they dropped like a piece of the drug. And I
mm,
think what I felt with that is like the cat is consuming him in like this brain altering thing where he has to kill the cat. And I think what the whole concept I thought was, how I felt was, it was like a consumption without drugs. But because at the beginning of that, they're like, we found his body and he had like 90 times the limit of your drug in his body. So I'm guessing like he was drugged and he went mentally insane, and that's what she killed him with, was like,
yeah.
there was no cat. There was never a cat, but he was just mentally insane. But I totally understand what you mean. Like, the only death I really did not care for
Mm-hmm.
was Beatrice's death with the mirror. I thought it was a cool kill. Don't get me wrong, it was a cool kill, but I just didn't like how they set that up towards of like her getting into the bedroom. It just felt like weird to me in a way, and most of the time it was like she, like it was hard to follow her story sometimes because she's also falling asleep and she's having visions because she hasn't been sleeping. But it just like felt like that they were reusing that, and that was the only problem. But it's just a nitpick. It's just a nitpick because I enjoyed it still. It was a good part of the story. It's just, I didn't really like how they killed her with the mirror doing that. I think that like something a little bit more of like her like
It was like
zoning out at the wrong place.
it was a cool thing to have her like attack the upper one, and then like
Mhm.
it all comes down, like kills her. But I kind of agree. I felt like that one was a little weird on the
Mhm.
explanation, execution.
Yeah.
But whatever. Like I didn't think like a lot of the, I still think like all the deaths were good. Like they were good, visual like
Oh, yeah.
stories and whatnot. So I did like how Lenore got to pass softly on her bed because she was the good one of the family. And I was like, heck yeah, like she was. And then the whole like Nevermore bot texting the dad nonstop was funny to me. The whole story about like the Roderick, the sister, and the detective trying to take down the big pharma and then them turning coat last second.
Yeah.
That like the whole function of that was kind of weird to me and dumb to me.
Mhm.
But I mean, at the same time, my brain's like, okay, sure, yeah, that explains how they became so rich, was because they did that, and that also like they luckily enough explain away any type of critique you can have with that kill, because you're like, freaking people saw you walk with that person, people did this, people that, and then it's like, no, you take this deal, they'll never find him. Like I'll make sure that you're safe, and then it's like, okay, you can't sit here and like nitpick that anymore because that they explained it away by saying, hey, look, we protect you, we got you, which I did like. Man, I'm trying to think of like other things about the show. I just thought it was really well paced, really well set up. It was only 8 episodes or 10 episodes. It's one of those
It was
two.
8. It was 8 episodes.
Um,
Which I think with the runtime that they had, it actually was pretty good. Like they did really well.
It felt like they were
Um,
an hour and 30 minutes or hour and 20 minutes. I don't they felt longer than the normal 45 minutes.
yeah,
Um which
I
I
think
didn't really
it's.
have an issue with, if I'm
I
being
think
honest.
the reasoning why that was because, well, for instance, this is a show that's really good with pacing.
Yeah.
So like it paced really well to a point where you wanted to watch the next episode, but you also didn't want to like binge watch it. To me, like I did watch it, like I didn't binge it. I just kind of like watched an episode, waited a couple hours, came back, watched another episode, waited a couple hours, and maybe like watched 2 episodes in a row. But I
Mhm.
didn't like binge it, and I think that's what really helped me with that. But also the ending and the beginning and the ending of the show has the fall of the House of Usher that comes up, and that's a whole like minute between them both that logo happens. So it's not like it's doing a whole 45 hours, 45 minutes usually. And the wrap up episode was, I think, longer. I think the last
There was a
episode
couple
was a little bit
episodes that
longer.
were over an hour because
Yeah,
I remember checking, like the first episode is definitely longer than an hour, and the last
yeah,
episode is definitely longer than an hour.
yeah. So I think it was well paced. I think that's the thing that I loved about this. And it's Mike Flanagan. I think when he tells a really good story and he does something great like this, it's it's fun to get like wrapped up in it. Like I want to watch it. I want to like be part of the environment and the story he's telling. I think he's a great storyteller in film, and I'm happy that he made this. And
Yeah.
he's now. They also announced his new series, which a lot of fans are so happy that he's doing, which is the Dark Tower series from Stephen King,
Oh, okay.
which is like a mix between a western and a horror film. Um, and he's doing a series now with that because the last movie that came out was really butt. So, and then the show before that or the movie before that was awful. So, yeah, it's pretty interesting seeing Mike Flanagan's going to do that. So I'm pretty excited for that. But I think this is a really good show, and anyone that's looking to watch it, um, it's a good start to get into Mike Flanagan stuff if you decide you want to do that. I will always say, if anyone's like, what should I watch anything? I usually say Midnight Mass, but I think I'll put Fall of the House of the Usher on there for some people that just don't want to cross the Midnight Mass like little religious story thing that happens.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are very like protective on the whole like religious stuff, and I understand, but this one's like just a scary little thing, and I'll put this in my watch time for like fall time now.
Oh yeah.
I always do Midnight Mass every year, and then Fall of the House of Usher will be the next one, so
Yeah.
I'm super stoked.
I agree. I think it's a really good show. I think if you're a fan of Edgar Allan Poe, you'll definitely love it.
Mm. Oh yeah,
I know that
huge
my
love
roommate
boy.
Terry would really enjoy it if he watched it. But no, that's just the truth. He likes Edgar Allan Poe and like
Yeah.
the dark macabre. He's also a big fan of Stephen King, so maybe the Dark Tower thing will be how he gets
Oh yeah.
connected. So
Yeah.
who knows? Well, Austin,
Mhm.
next week we're going to watch the Castlevania Nocturne, right?
Yes, Nocturne. Mhm.
Castlevania Nocturne on Netflix. We're continuing doing the Netflix binge until the month is up, and then we go unsubscribe and move on
Move on to something else.
to something else so that we don't have to give them money.
Yeah.
Even though like I'll like rewatching the show and whatnot, I'm like Netflix does some great stuff, but
Mhm.
they do too much like bad things on
Yeah, it's just
on
for their
the-
customers,
yeah. I just
getting-
don't want to give them money.
a lot of streaming services are being that way now, where it's just like, no sharing your screen, or your price is going to go up like 20 to 50, like $20 to $5, and you're just like, this is
Mhm.
awful. Why am I paying for this when I could pay $70 for cable? It's like, well, you don't have ads and you watch things that you want to watch, and you're like, yeah, I get that, but
And then they're like, "Hey, watch this with ads, and you'll get it cheaper." And
Yeah.
it's like,
yeah,
why?
it's just
I hate ad tiers because it's like, oh,
Yeah.
you charge us for the opportunity to watch ads, which you get
Mhm.
paid to view those ads. So you're double dipping into the system, and your statement is like, oh, because we get revenue from ads, you don't have to pay as much. It's like, son, no, you're making so much more
Yeah.
money because of that.
Yep.
Oh well.
Yep. It is.
I
what
hate
it
big
is.
companies. everything's becoming more and more like what do you call it? It's becoming like the cable now, where it's like you have to have everything, and you have to pay for everything, and it's just becoming way too expensive. It's like not worth.
Yeah.
Anyway, Austin. Yep. Next week we're watching Castlevania Nocturne. I appreciate you stopping by, join me on this episode of Bros and Show. And did you have any last things you want to say about the Fall of Usher? Or are you good?
Oh no, I'm good.
You're good. Okay. I realized I didn't.
Super happy about it. Yeah. No, I'm super happy about it.
It's solid.
9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Yeah. It's only not a 10 out of 10 because we can nitpick, and that's it.
Yep.
So awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for stopping by,
Yeah.
joining us on today's episode. Thank you all so much for stopping by, and thank you all so much for tuning in.